Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to try and do a quick video for you folks, and hopefully it's a quick eyebrow tutorial. Eyebrows and skin are the two things that I spend the most time on in my makeup routine, mainly because I definitely think that that's what shapes your face. You know, when you have like nappy looking foundation, like it's not cute, and when your eyebrows aren't cute, it doesn't shape your face nicely. So I think definitely if you have to pick either between face and brows, I definitely recommend your brows. Again, it just shapes your face nicely when it's done. I'm going to be sharing with you my tips, my favorite products, little tricks, or my tricks that I think it's a trick. I don't know. It's just how I do my brows. If you want to see how I do my brows, then just keep on watching. Alright, I do apologize if lighting changes and fluctuates throughout this video. I am racing with the daylight and I'm fighting with the daylight and the lighting from the daylight. It's a hot mess. Anyway. So let's dive in. Now these are products that I feel are beneficial, and I'll let you know if I think it's like a required and a necessity or if it's just an optional and you want to be extra like me. Again, brows are super important to me, so I definitely splurge on brows. I don't care how much it costs. I just definitely want the best products. Now, what I find what works best for me might not work best for you, depending on like your brow, your stage of your life with your brows. Does that make sense? Like if you have no brows, I think that might be a different video from you. If you do watch my drag tutorial video, I think I fully drew my brows in that. I can't remember if I left that in or if I cut that out, because I might have cut it out because it was real rough. But I might have left it. I can't remember. Actually, now that I think about it, I didn't leave it, so don't watch that video. So again, depending on your stage of your brows, like if you have no hair versus hair, I think it's going to definitely be different. You can try to use some of these techniques if you don't have any hair, or if you do have minimal hair, I think this definitely can work for you as well. But for those who do have hair and you just want to fill it and just shape it a little bit better. Because if you can see naturally, my brows do not look the same. Like they don't line up, they don't arch at the same point, and they don't end the same. One kind of almost goes like this and one kind of goes like this. So they definitely are different brows, and that's why I love filling them in. Also, I love long dramatic brows, and I feel like my brows don't naturally go long enough. So the first thing you need is an eyebrow pencil. Now this is like a die-hard, I need this in my life. Without this, I can't live. Anytime I place a Sephora order, I'm always ordering another one. That way I have a backup on my backups. Again, cannot live without this. Now a ton of different brands make them. Again, totally up to you, whatever's in your price point, whatever's in your budget. Now I will say I did try a few retractable eyebrow pencils, and I just don't think they work as well as a brow pencil. More than like, I know like Anastasia has a Brow Wiz, Benefit has the Gimme Brow, and those are great, but I found that a pencil just gives me a little bit more leeway inside of using it. I feel like the wax texture of a retractable brow pencil is a little bit harder for me personally to work with. It might be easier in a one-stop shop for some of you, but for me it's not. Plus the Anastasia one does have a spoolie on the end. You definitely need a spoolie. A spoolie is 100% required when doing your brows. I personally like to just go ahead and brush out my brows before I do anything with them. I do naturally pluck my brows myself. I will also use a brow scissors, brow shaver, I guess, and trim around the edges. I will also use a comb and a small cosmetics scissors to cut my hair of my brows. And I do have a full in-depth eyebrow routine video here on my channel. I'll leave it linked down in the description box if you want to check it out. I personally leave the spoolie open because you're going to use a spoolie quite a bit when doing your brows. Another thing I love about a pencil is you can get her real sharp. Do you see how sharp that is? She could cut a bee. So the first thing I like to do is the sides of your nose is where your brow is going to start. I like a more boxier brow. Some people does not. I start by outlining the bottom of my brow. If you don't have hair, you will create hair-like strokes by just flicking the brush up. But for me, I do, so I'm just kind of filling in the sparse areas. And I am using a lighter shade in brow pencil, especially in the front of your brow. You want to make sure that you're not using anything dark in the front of your brow. I'm using my pencil in the shade Taupe, I believe. Yes, in Taupe. And then I will go in, and once I get my front to be the shape that I want, I'll go in at the top and the bottom of the brow to just shape it even more to where I need it to be. Point of where it arches is not the same, so I do fully draw that in. And then I come out where I want the tail to be. I don't know if you can tell a difference already, but just by that alone, I feel like it really shapes the brows. I'll quickly run through with my spoolie. This is just going to help spread any product and nicely and evenly. You can definitely stop there if that's all you need, but you know I'm extra, so I definitely am going to go in with more. Next, I'm going to be taking the Anastasia Dip Brow. I love this stuff. I cannot live without this stuff either, mainly because I definitely think it's what's going to provide you the most pigment, especially if you don't have any hair. I'm sure this is going to come in handy. I also feel like this stays all day. This does dry out quickly, so I will highly recommend keeping this sealed and tightly closed. Two brushes that I loved, actually three brushes. There's three different brushes that I love to apply this with. The first one's going to be the Brandon Brow Definer brush number 1822. It's an angled brush. This is from the drugstore. Super affordable and really easy and great to work with. And there's two Anastasia brushes. This one is a new one that has entered my life mainly because of Nicole Guerrero. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills number 7 brush. I do feel like the handle's a little bit longer for me, and I personally use my brush like this to fill it in, only because like you want a light hand and you want a flick of the wrist. Which is why I love the Anastasia Beverly Hills 12 brush. Both are really expensive brushes, so I don't know why brushes can be so expensive versus really light. Today I'm going to be taking the number 12 brush because this is like actually my tried and true to do brow pomades. Now, a lot of different companies make brow pomades. I do feel like the drugstore ones do dry out a little bit quicker than the Anastasia ones. I feel like this lasts a little bit longer. I will say I can use the whole thing before actually having to toss it, and it might be due to the environment because it's really hot here. One really big tip that I would recommend for you folks when using a pomade, a lot of people will put it on the back of their cover. I personally don't because it dries out up there and then it just flakes off down into the pomade. Also, I find that when it's more creamier, because it does eventually set down to almost like a powder where it locks in. I prefer when it's creamier because it just blends out easier and nicer. So I actually put it on the back of my hand. And what this does, as well as your body heat, warms up the product to make it a little bit more creamier. So what I'll do is I'll usually scoop out a little bit, place it on the back of my hand, and then kind of just massage it around until it kind of melts down. And then when your brush is nicely evenly coated, make sure there's not too much or too little product. I will not start as soon as you dip into your pomade closer than halfway through your brow. If you have too much product, I recommend starting on the end of your brow. But if you have good control of your product, I'd start in the middle, and that's where you want the darkest of your brow to be. And I kind of just use a stamping motion. That way it's a little bit more forgiving if you make a mistake, as well as instead of just going like deeply into your brow. Again, picking up a little bit more product. Now going to the bottom of the brow and shaping it out. Then when your brush doesn't have too much product left, I'll quickly just go to the top and the bottom of my brows in the front. Not too close to the front, but just adding a little bit more depth, and that way it blends nicely to the front. Now my tail, because I extended so far and it's not naturally that far, I do need a lot more product. That way it's just a little bit more darker and matches the back end of my brow. And voila. Alright, so you can definitely stop here and just leave your brows like this. Again, pomade is super long lasting and it's definitely going to stay all day. I prefer just to set it, that way I can fill in any sparse areas. I'm going to be taking the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder. This is in the shade dark brown. I don't know if I mentioned the pomade is in medium brown. This, I like to take more of a looser brush, not as compact as the Anastasia, which is why I love the Brandon brush. Or I also like this one from Sonia Kashuk. Does it have a brush number? Number 27. They're a little bit more looser than the Anastasia brushes. And then I'm just going to just brush this through. Not really focusing any shape. This is just going to fill the brow anywhere that you missed with the pomade. Now I will use the powder to shape the tail end of my brow. Got it. Love it. Love it. Then I'm going to be taking the Brow Box by Urban Decay in the shade Honey Pot. This is a really, really light brow powder. Again, even a more looser brush. Do I have one? I don't have one. But usually I take a really loose brush and I take the lightest shade in this and just brush this on the front of my brows. Again, totally not necessary, but it just adds a little bit more color to fill in the brow. Boom, boom, pow. Then lastly, well, 2 more steps before we're done. I usually take a more compact brush and a foundation with actual pigment, like a really light foundation that I use to set my under eye or to brighten up my eye. I'm taking the Laura Mercier loose setting powder mainly because it's the closest thing near me. And I just brush in the beginning of my brows. This is why I like a more pigmented powder, because what it does is it's just going to soften up the beginning of the brow. Then, the last thing to set it all in place, I'm going to be taking the Benefit Gimme Brow. They do have a new packaging. This is a really old one. But it has such a small spoolie, which is why I love the Gimme Brow. I do use this in a lighter shade than my actual brows. Like, I recommend going like a shade or 2 lighter, only because it's just going to help brighten it if you have put a little too much product on it. And what this is going to do, it does have fiber, so it's going to help fill the brow as well. And then it's just going to lock the brows in place. That's why, that way, not that's why, but that way the brow hairs won't move too much. Again, this is just going to help lock in the longevity of the brows. Yes, ma'am. I'm using this in the shade Medium Deep. And voila, that is my brows. That is my brow routine. I absolutely love it. Another thing that you can do if you want to be extra is take a little bit of your concealer or foundation. I like a concealer over foundation. It just brightens it up a little more. Take a really tiny dot. You don't need it that much at all. I'm taking the Morphe M432 brush, and I'm going to just carve out right underneath the brow. Wow, look at her. Just instant lift. If you don't want too much of a brightening under the brow like this, what you can do is take your foundation shade and use that as well. You can use this technique to clean up any mistakes that you do as well. And then just blending it out. And that's it. That completes my eyebrow routine. I hope you folks enjoyed this video. I thought it was going to be short, but now that I'm looking at the recorded time, it's actually really long, and I do apologize. But again, just take steps that you like, that you want to implement into your eyebrow routine. And I appreciate you folks watching this video. Please make sure to give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Click subscribe, turn on that notification bell. That way you're notified anytime I upload a new video, because I clearly do not have an uploading schedule and you never know when you get a new video from me. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and like my latest post there. And until next time, bye guys.